very much. Thank you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Let's begin today by taking a moment to thank the men and women of law enforcement who do a great job every day, who are with us today, who are behind me today. To County Executive Ed Day, I want to thank him very much for being here and for his kind introduction. He had many demands on him today, and we're glad that he made time for us. The county executive, with his background in law enforcement, understands this issue from many dimensions. So we thank him for his leadership on the effort. As always, it's my pleasure to be with Chancellor Nancy Zimpher, who was just a breath of fresh air and is driving the SUNY system to new heights. We thank her, and Superintendent Joseph D'Amico has done an outstanding job with the state police. I had the good fortune of working with him in the Attorney General's office, so we've been together for a long time, and he's doing great work. And President Cliff Wood, always a pleasure to be with you. Let's give him a round of applause, Dr. Wood. As you heard, the topic today is very serious. And they say the first step in drug treatment, when someone goes to deal with a drug issue, the first step is admitting the problem and not denying it. And that's the first step for the collective, for the state. We have to admit the problem. This state has a serious problem with heroin. And it has been growing, and it is getting worse, and it is of epidemic proportions at this point. And it's disproportionate to the growth of heroin in the nation. We have about 1/3 of all the heroin seizures in the country by the DEA are done here in the New York area. We've had, as the superintendent mentioned, a problem with heroin in the past, in the 60s and the 70s. This is worse. Heroin is cheaper now than it was. They're selling it in $5 bags, $10 bags. It's more potent than it was, and it is more diverse than it was. Back in the 60s and 70s was basically an inner city problem. It is now more a affluent suburban problem than it is an inner city problem. So it has changed over the years, and it's actually gotten worse, and it's actually gotten more prevalent. New York State, the rate of seizures of heroin have gone up 67% in the past 4 years. Right here in Rockland, the number of admissions for heroin addiction have gone up 97%. From 2004 to 2013. And the investigations on heroin have more than doubled during that period of time. So denial is not an option, and denial is not a life strategy. We have a problem, and we have a problem with heroin, and we're going to do something about it. And what you hear today is a multi-pronged approach. We're going to deal with it on every level. First, from an enforcement point of view, the New York State Police, who have been superb over this state's history in dealing with narcotics. We're going to give them the resources they need to make this fight. We're going to double the number of troopers who are assigned to the narcotics detail. We're adding 100 New York State troopers just to fight this heroin epidemic, and we're going to be doing that forthwith. From an education point of view, you heard from the Chancellor. And we're going to battle this in our college system, our SUNY system, our CUNY system. Those are our public colleges. We're also going to make that information and training available to the private colleges because this is disproportionately a young person problem now. And it's disproportionately a college-age problem. So we're going to attack it in our education system. And then as an emergency response, the one good news that you didn't have back in the 60s and the 70s is a drug called Narcan, which is they call it the anti-overdose drug. And it can literally save lives if administered. It is highly effective in dealing with overdoses of heroin. That's if you have the drug and if a person knows how to deploy the drug. So we're going to be training first responders all across the state, and we'll be providing all first responders, EMTs, police, fire, with this drug, Narcan, so they'll be in a position to save lives. And it actually has saved lives. So between the enforcement activity, the education activity, the emergency responder activity, it will be a thorough and comprehensive approach. The last point, though, is probably the most important. Government can help solve problems, but society makes a mistake when they say, well, government will solve that. Heroin is not a problem that law enforcement alone can solve. The troopers and the sheriffs and the DAs can't solve it. The teachers and the education system can't solve it. It's going to take all of us. And it still starts in the home, and it starts with parents, and it starts with friends, and it starts with neighbors. And if you suspect a person has an issue, do something. Do something. That same theory that denial is not a life strategy, and you have to admit a drug problem before you can begin to resolve a drug problem, is true. If you see someone, if you have a family member who you think is struggling, say something and do something. It's all of our responsibility. That is the responsibility of the collective. We do it together, we'll make a difference, and we'll save lives. And that's what today is all about. And I thank all of you very much for taking the time to be here. Thank you.